You should never look down on someone because of their job or profession. Even if your job is generally considered more important than theirs, every job has its social necessity. Someone is waiting for the result of that work. Those who can't understand this may not be able to live in society. My name is Olivia. Right now, I'm enveloped in immense joy. Before me stands a large commercial facility in a prime location. This is the fruition of my and my colleagues' labor, like our own child. With its completion, one of my dreams has come true. I'm excited to take a new step forward starting tomorrow. The blood, sweat, and tears I've spent getting here could rival any movie. However, I still feel pain remembering the tears shed over issues beyond work, like family problems. I can't help but wish those problems never happened. I'm a carpenter. In the past, carpentry was seen as a man's job, so there are indeed very few female carpenters. The carpentry workforce is declining year by year, and women only make up about 18% of it. Craftsmanship has an image of being tough, dangerous, and dirty, which deters many young people, including women, from pursuing it. Being a woman, I think I've had to work extra hard compared to men. I want to break the status quo and spread the wonderful job of carpentry and construction. My dad was also a carpenter, running a construction firm as a foreman. Among older foremen, Dad was relatively young in his 40s and highly respected for his skills. He looked a decade younger and had a strong build with a dignified face. As his daughter, I was always proud and adored him. I used to follow him to work sites as a little girl. "Dangerous here, you shouldn't come," he'd say, but out of love for his daughter, he allowed me to tag along. My following Dad wasn't just because I loved him, but also because I loved watching carpentry work. When did I start getting interested in carpentry? Before I knew it, I was fascinated by this almost magical job of building houses. My first toy was a hammer. A light plastic one, but I cried and clamored for a real one. Dad must have been happy that I took an interest in his work. He taught me carpentry, showing me the workflow and mechanics. Thanks to the understanding craftsman, I learned a lot on site and even got hands-on experience. The craftsman might have been inconvenienced by a girl on the site. I always understood the importance of not getting in the way at work, so I never disrupted Dad or the craftsman, nor did I ever contradict them. As I grew, my skills and knowledge expanded, and my technical abilities improved rapidly. In my first year of middle school, I mastered the traditional post and beam construction technique, which surprised Dad and all the craftsmen. Around that time, our family grew by one, the birth of my brother. Dad felt a bit embarrassed about having a child at his age, but I had always wanted a younger brother, so I was overjoyed. Named Robert, my little brother was adorable, and I took the lead in caring for him, often stepping in for Mom. Looking back, those days were busy juggling my passion for building and taking care of Robert, but they were joyful. By the time I was in the third year of middle school, I had self-taught the entire process of building a house and surpassed the skills of young carpenters. Dad was amazed at my talent, and the craftsmen expressed their admiration. I had firmly decided to focus on and pursue a career in construction. I chose to attend a technical high school with a focus on architecture. My 3 years in high school were fruitful. Besides my studies, I gained real-world experience in Dad's sites and, during long vacations, apprenticed under other foremen Dad introduced me to. Those who initially doubted me or thought of me as just a helper quickly changed their minds upon seeing my work. Without intending it, my name gradually became known in the industry. During the long vacation in my third year of high school, I worked under a highly skilled and award-winning foreman. Normally, it wouldn't have been easy for a high school girl to approach him, but thanks to Dad's connections and my growing reputation, I was exceptionally allowed to apprentice under him. That short period gave me new goals and aspirations. I had planned to enter the construction world right after high school, but I decided to attend university to learn more about architecture. Juggling exam preparation and construction studies was hectic, but my brother Robert, now 5 years old, was a source of joy. He was incredibly cute. Recently, I also started taking care of a little girl named Sophia, also 5 years old, the daughter of one of the craftsmen. Her mother was unwell, so Sophia often stayed at our house. Surrounded by these two adorable angels, I was filled with happiness. After a fulfilling university life, I graduated and eagerly joined the construction industry. Though I initially planned to join Dad's firm, the foreman I met in my senior year of high school invited me to train under him, so I became his formal apprentice. I continued to associate with him during university, learning immensely. After 8 years of rigorous training under his guidance, he told me I had learned enough and should continue to hone my skills on my own. Following this advice, I moved to Dad's construction firm. At that time, Dad's construction firm was highly regarded in the industry. I started to work even harder, aiming to not only maintain, but also elevate its reputation. Then, 3 years later, something unbelievable happened. Dad suddenly collapsed and passed away from a cerebral hemorrhage. The funeral, with Mom as the chief mourner, and my brother, who had just turned 20, along with craftsmen and business associates, was held solemnly. Sophia, the daughter of the craftsman I used to care for, along with my brother, attended crying. I spoke in place of Mom in the eulogy. I will continue Dad's legacy and take our construction firm to new heights. I ask for your continued support and assistance. This was my declaration of determination. I worked tirelessly, with the help of many who respected Dad within the industry, as I was now responsible for not only overseeing the site, but also managing the business. Stable management leads to quality work on site. There are many tasks, like labor management and sales. I couldn't handle everything alone, so I relied on the strength of our employees. My role behind the scenes was to support the staff so they could work efficiently. Of course, I also continued on-site work to maintain the quality of our constructions. A year flew by, and just as things were getting on track, I received an invitation to speak at a meeting hosted by a construction industry association. They wanted me to talk about how a successor supports and elevates a construction firm. Feeling the task was too much for me, I considered declining, but Mr. Smith, the president of a construction company and a board member of the association, insisted. He had been acquainted with my late father and wanted to hear the daughter's story. Unable to refuse a request from Dad's acquaintance, I unexpectedly took on the task of speaking to an audience. Speaking itself wasn't a big deal for me. I'm not the kind to get nervous over such things. However, planning what to say was a struggle. How could I convey my message effectively to the audience? On that day, I delivered a well-thought-out speech filled with my emotions and was greeted with a round of applause. I had felt a good response during the speech, but the overwhelming applause made me almost shrink with humility more than satisfaction. Leaving the venue with a sense of relief and achievement, a man approached me. "Excuse me for the sudden introduction. My name is Richard, and I was deeply impressed by your lecture. I hope it's not rude, but I'd like to hear more about your story." I was taken aback, as I had never been approached by a man like this before. Richard seemed sincere, and perhaps I was still in high spirits from the lecture, I impulsively agreed to his request. After that, we talked about various things in the tea room, and I found myself increasingly drawn to Richard. He was a public servant in a department related to architecture and attended today's meeting for that reason. Though our conversation was brief, we hit it off and made plans to meet again. After several meetings, we began dating. I marveled at the wonder of human connections. As my work and personal life flourished, a year and a half passed. That year, my brother Robert graduated from college and joined our company. My brother, though I say it myself, is extremely intelligent. He studied business administration and accounting in college, dominated outside business seminars, wrote a thesis that impressed his professors so much that they wanted him to stay at the university. However, Robert declined their offer and decided to join our company instead. He told me to leave the administrative tasks to him and focus on my craft at the construction sites. I was proud to see how much he had grown. Indeed, being able to concentrate my efforts on the construction sites was a relief. Together, my brother and I began running the company. As the company entered a new phase, so did my personal life. Richard proposed to me, and I was genuinely happy. My joy knew no bounds, and we decided to move forward as a couple. The day came for us to greet Richard's mother, Chloe. His father had passed away 10 years ago. Mom can be a bit difficult, and she might say something unpleasant, Richard warned, but I wanted to get along well with my future mother-in-law. Nice to meet you. I look forward to getting to know you. Hello, I'm Richard's mother, Chloe, she replied stiffly. As I struggled to respond, she commented, Richard told me you're a carpenter. A woman as a carpenter, what a thing. Carpenters are just a bunch of uneducated men, aren't they? I realized this must be the occupational prejudice Richard mentioned. I'm an architect. I draw blueprints and create buildings from nothing. Carpenters are just worker ants following architects' instructions. A job of brawn over brain, she continued. I tried to gently correct her misconceptions about carpentry without hurting her pride, but deep-seated beliefs aren't easily changed. A woman like you must be physically weaker and intellectually average. How can you be a suitable wife for Richard? She said as we parted, her words piercing my heart. Am I not good enough to be Richard's wife? Ma means no harm. My late father was a carpenter who looked down on architects. He always said architects couldn't do anything without carpenters and belittled Mom. Since Dad passed, she started demeaning carpenters in response, Richard explained. Though I understood the reason, I couldn't accept it. Architects and carpenters must work together to build. It's not about one being superior to the other. We held our wedding in June and became husband and wife. Chloe always expressed dissatisfaction with my job, but she never opposed our marriage. Richard had even threatened to sever ties with her if she did. I'm not entirely convinced, but I'll say congratulations for now. You won't be a carpenter forever, right? Quit your job soon and support Richard. Or are you planning to study to become an architect like me? Try if you think you can, Chloe said during her visit to the bridal room. My mom and brother, who were in the same room, were shocked to hear this. After the wedding, Richard and I started our married life in our new home. As a public servant, Richard's work hours were relatively fixed except during busy periods, but mine varied with the progress of construction sites. However, we had the same days off. Unless the construction schedule was severely delayed, our routine involved spending weekends together. In the architectural world, I occasionally heard about Chloe. Her reputation wasn't good, often belittling carpenters and occasionally making basic mistakes in her designs. Recently, she was the designer for a project we received. Reviewing her blueprints, I noticed a weakness in the foundation strength. While it might be fine under normal conditions, it could fail under the stress of earthquakes or hurricanes. After recalculating the strength, my concerns were confirmed. Deciding it was not in the client's best interest to proceed with the current design, I invited Chloe to the office to discuss the modifications. I'd like to request a design revision, if that's okay? What do you, a mere carpenter, want suddenly? You can't understand my design. I'm an architect. How dare you, an ignorant carpenter, act so high and mighty? Chloe retorted angrily. Facing an angry and vehement Chloe, I meticulously pointed out the flaws in her design. I don't know where you studied, but who do you think you are, flaunting such makeshift knowledge? Carpenters are just incompetent men doing menial jobs. And here you are, a woman, presuming to be more. What are you thinking? Despite my detailed explanation of the design flaws, she refused to acknowledge the accurate data and continued to disparage carpentry as a lowly job. Just as I was about to lose my temper, a visitor unexpectedly entered the office. Chloe and I both turned to the newcomer, and Chloe spoke first. President Smith, why are you here? It was President Smith of a well-respected construction company. The project was actually subcontracted from his company to Chloe. I heard there was a problem with this successful project and came to check. Smith's sudden appearance seemed to unsettle Chloe. Also, I have another matter to discuss. Olivia, thank you for your excellent work last time. We're planning another project and would like to offer you a $10 million contract, just like before. Chloe was visibly shocked. President Smith, what do you mean? Why offer such an amount to this mere construction firm? She's just a carpenter. Ah, you're Olivia's Chloe. Don't you know? Olivia is a licensed first-class architect. What nonsense! This boy's wife, a first-class architect? Chloe trembled, overwhelmed by the unexpected revelation. At that moment, my husband Richard entered the office. He had come along with me for a meeting, followed by a dinner plan with everyone. Mom, you've been looking down on carpenters, but Olivia is indeed a first-class architect. You're a second-class architect, right? By qualification, Olivia ranks higher than you. You call yourself a building designer to avoid saying you're second class, Richard said. The title of architect is a national qualification, while designer is not. It's just a job title. Architect qualifications are divided into first class, second class, and wooden building carpenters, with first class handling larger scale buildings than second class. Chloe used the term building designer to avoid the second class label, which might sound more prestigious to those unfamiliar. Additionally, Olivia has apprenticed under a renowned master craftsman, recognized for his exceptional skills and contributions to traditional American woodworking. She has inherited and mastered these skills, earning the admiration and recognition of her mentor. That's why I've entrusted her with complete responsibility for our company's projects. My master, who I first apprenticed under in high school, was awarded just 2 years ago, although he had long been recognized for his skills. In my short 8-year apprenticeship, I had rapidly mastered his techniques thanks to my innate talent. As an aside, it would be building structures like gazebos, which have seen a revival in interest, especially from international visitors in recent years. Smith wanted to make a standout feature in his new commercial development by creating a gazebo that embodies the pinnacle of traditional American woodworking, and he approached me for this task. The previous project was a huge success, and Smith had been eager to work with me again. Moreover, he referred to this as just a construction firm, but it has evolved into an organization of skilled craftsmen, more like a large-scale comprehensive construction firm, thanks to the efforts of Olivia's brother Robert, Smith continued. Robert had shown his capabilities immediately after joining, innovating with his academic knowledge and expanding the company by strengthening its foundations and restructuring the organization. True to being my brother, he was not only smart but also action-driven. I knew Olivia's dad well, but it was at that lecture where I first met Olivia and was struck by her talents and heart, especially her gazebo's carpentry skills. That's why I wanted her to handle our projects, Smith explained. Chloe was dumbfounded by these revelations. Comparatively, your reputation, Chloe, is significantly poor. Your derogatory remarks towards carpenters and frequent design flaws are well known. I suppose you're here today to discuss such a design issue, Smith pointed out, making Chloe break out in a cold sweat, and lost for words. Then Robert and Sophia, whom I had once cared for along with my brother, walked in. You refuse to admit your mistakes, insult our valued colleagues, and now this disgraceful behavior, Robert accused. We've been investigating you and your firm on President Smith's request, Sophia told Chloe. Chloe, realizing the truth of these accusations, covered her face and began to tremble. It must have been a realization of her own wrongdoings. After graduating from university, Sophia joined a private investigation firm. The firm conducted inquiries based on requests, examining the construction status of buildings and the management of offices, checking for deficiencies or mistrust. Their investigation revealed numerous defects in buildings designed by Chloe. These flaws were not random, but appeared intentional, with a clear pattern of negligence. The investigation also uncovered irregular financial transactions linked to these defects. Architects are expected to be honest. Mom's actions have trampled on that principle. You know my job is to correct dishonest behavior, right? It's disappointing, Mom. Richard works as a federal government employee for the United States Department of Transportation, where he's involved in the Construction Dispute Resolution Service. This body judges disputes and misconduct in construction and issues rulings. Chloe started crying and wailing at her son's words. Subsequently, Chloe was accused of fraudulent billing and fictitious expense claims. Among various charges, the most severe was likely fraud. If found guilty, she would definitely face imprisonment. Under architectural law, anyone punished with imprisonment or more severe penalties will lose their architectural license. Whether due to the review board's conclusion or the trial's outcome, Chloe's license was bound to be revoked. About a year and a half has passed since then. Now, I am standing in front of a completed large commercial facility, housing the gazebos I poured my heart into. It represents a culmination and a goal, but also a new beginning. I was filled with happiness and satisfaction. The company is thriving, my relationship with my husband is smooth, and all is well. Recently, there's been some joyous news. Robert and Sophia decided to get married. The two I had cared for since they were little are now uniting in marriage, a deeply touching thought. Richard and I have agreed to start a family as soon as possible. I don't want to delay and risk a late pregnancy, and if things go smoothly, we might have children around the same time as my brother and his wife. If that happens, our children might grow up together. Thinking about that makes me so excited.